Today we're going to visit about hoof buffers. I have two of them. I like having two because I have 60 grit on this one and then 100 grit on my other one for more refined work. This one holds air. However, every morning when I go to use this one, it's empty. And so typically what I do is, because I'm in a hurry and I need to keep moving, I just shoot it full of air, grab my air hose, put it right on top of the nozzle here, give it a little squirt, like so, and voila, maybe I need a tiny bit more. There we are. And now it's nice and firm, and then I just use my fingernail to kind of adjust the pressure of how hard or soft I want it. Tools you're going to need today are a bucket full of water, impact gun with a long screwdriver head on it. If you happen to be missing a screw, the screw for these is a 1024, and I'll show you how I shorten this one. It's a little too long. Having a replacement bladder on hand in case you actually have a hole in your bladder. And another little trick and tip that I'll show you is using a tire sealant to help seal the edges. You'll need a valve stem remover to do this little trick. So let's find out where this hoof buffer is leaking. We're going to go ahead and use our fingernail, let out all the air since we had already filled it up, slide off our sanding cuff, fill it back up with air now. Okay, that's plenty. Dump it in the bucket of water. There's air coming out of this screw, as well as the other side. There's some air coming out of that screw. So one of the first things you can do to make sure that your bladder isn't leaking is just go around and tighten up your screws here. So I got a little bit of a turn out of that one. Having this long screw bit allows you to get in there okay without having to take your handle off. So all these were loose. I could get at least half a turn out of all of them. See this side. Quarter of a turn, eighth of a turn. So just tightening up these 8 screws can be the first step for helping your hoof buffer hold air. If you do need to take your handle off, you need to take off this little spring. Use this little spring remover tool to pull apart your spring. Then your handle pulls off. You can pull off your ball bearing here, put it back together. Same way, make sure your spring hooks onto the little groove at the top of your shaft here. Slide that back on, and then use a screwdriver to make sure you've pushed it back into your groove. Good to go. This is how you can take your bladder apart. Undo 4 screws on this side. So once you've got your screws off, carefully go ahead and peel your bladder off the handle side first. And then you can slide it off like so. First thing, make sure it's nice and clean. There's nothing on the edges that might stop a good seal. And then I'm going to clean around my edges here. If for some reason you have lost a screw, they're a 1024. I wasn't able to find the right length, so I got the smallest length I could find and then just ground it down. Okay, so let's put the bladder back on. This is an important step. Go ahead and pull your bladder all the way over this flange as well, so you have lots of room to then put it over the handle side first, and if you have that extra room, it's relatively simple to just pop it on. And then the trickier part is then putting this back on, but you don't have to work around the handle. So just do little bites at a time. And once you get it more than halfway on, it gets on there pretty easy. All right, so now our bladder's back on. The hole that we screw in, that's machined in, and there's no possible way for air to be coming out of the actual screw hole. So the air is going to be coming out of this flange here and then leaking out of the screw. So our goal is to make sure this rim seats nicely on the bladder here, and then tighten it all down. Tighten each screw down multiple times to really compress the plate against the rubber. Okay, now let's fill it back of air again and see if we have no leaks. Awesome. I don't think we have any leaks. No air bubbles. So you've tightened all the screws, you've pulled it apart, made sure there's no debris in there, and you've put it back together. Let's say it's still leaking. You still have air bubbles coming off, not the actual bladder itself, but through the sides or your screw hole. The next thing you could try is take the valve stem out, and you use a valve stem tool like so, and just unscrew it. Okay, so now that your valve stem screw is out, you can go ahead and put a sealant in it. And I'm using a bicycle tube sealant. Any sealant for tubes or tubeless tires will work. Using a small little bottle with a little nozzle on it works the best. Put a small amount in your small bottle. All right, so you can put your bottle in here, valve stems removed, squirt a little sealant into it. Give it a good shake, get it all around the edges. You can now fill it back up with air. So once this sealant has dried, it's going to put a nice sealant on the inside of this tube and help it from not leaking around the edges or your screw. Lastly, if you have an air bubble that's coming from anywhere in your bladder, the simplest thing you're going to want to do is just pick up a new bladder and go through the process of replacing this. So there you go, a few little tricks and tips to help sort out your hoof buffer not holding air. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. Have a great day. Cheerio. And remember, please like and subscribe.